How could Tu Youyou deceive the Nobel Prize and the Lasker Foundation Award in Medicine? Lecture 6 continued. Tu Youyou was an accomplice of malaria that killed at least 4 million people in the Third World because she insisted to shut down the world's largest artemisinin producing factory for more than 3 years by a ridiculous lawsuit. 2015 Nobel Prize in Medicine winner Tu Youyou was an academic cheater and a liar. She was not the essential contributor of 523 project to fund the new antimalarial drug artemisinin. That the Chinese Ministry of Health selected her as a Nobel Prize candidate was in attempt to bring the best political propaganda for the Chinese traditional medicine. As a matter of fact, Tu Youyou had made the biggest academic cheating scandal in the world scientific history.
1986年，青蒿素获得了卫生部新药证书。
In the above video, Tu Youyou said that artemisinin obtained the new drug certificate from Ministry of Health in 1986. The following picture is this certificate. Let's translate this certificate to English. It said, after review, the new drug artemisinin researched and produced by your institute was compliance with the standards of new drug approval measures. Therefore, we issue you this certificate as approval. On the bottom, we can see the stamp of China Ministry of Health and the issue date, October 3rd, 1986. The most important sentence in this certificate was compliance with the standards of new drug approval measures. Now we have a question. What are standards of new drug approval measures? This is the copy of document New Drug Approval Measures in Chinese, regulated by China Ministry of Health on July 1st, 1985. The Chinese name was 新药审批办法. Here we have partially translated copy. On the top we have title New Drug Approval Measures. The second line is publication date, July 1st, 1985. The third line is Chapter 1, General. In the Article 2 of Chapter 1, there was a very important sentence giving the definition of new drug, which was Article 2, new drugs refers to drugs that have never been produced in China. The artemisinin production line was operated in Kunming and Guilin pharmaceutical factories since 1976 by using gasoline solvent method. That means at the time when Tu Youyou applied for this new drug artemisinin certificate in 1986, the artemisinin had been already produced for more than 10 years in China. Obviously, according to the Article 2 of New Drug Approval Measures, the drug artemisinin was not conformed to the new drug definition in 1986. Therefore, Tu Youyou's 1986 artemisinin certificate was illegal. On September 21st to 28th, 1982, On the request of WHO, American FDA official Dr. Ronald Tasleff inspected both Kunlun and Guilin pharmaceutical factories to see whether their artemisinin productions matched the GMP standard. Below is a picture taken on September 24, 1982, during Dr. Tasleff's visiting Guilin. The lady in the picture was Tu Youyou's teammate Li Zelin. Dr. Tasleff's inspection report can verify that the artemisinin productions already existed in China in 1982. It is clearly that drug artemisinin cannot be considered as a new drug in 1986. Now let's read Article 11 and Article 12 in New Drug Approval Measures. The Article 11 said the clinical trial hospital should not be less than 3. The Article 12 said the clinical trial verified cases should not be less than 100. However, Tu Youyou's artemisinin actually was Qinghao 2 only had one hospital to do the clinical trial and only had 8 malaria cases to do the verification in 1973. Therefore, this is a violation to Article 11 and Article 12. Once again, Tu Youyou's 1986 new drug artemisinin certificate was illegal. In 1981, the 523 project officially announced its mission completed because of new drug artemisinin invented. Soon after, an agency named Artemisinin Research Steering Committee was built to coordinate the research of artemisinin derivatives and to take care of the foreign affairs with WHO. The director of ARSC was former 523 project director Zhou Keding. In the mid-1980s, WHO requested if China could supply more artemisinin products to meet the increasing world market demands in the worldwide anti-malaria battle. In order to save millions of lives suffering from malaria in Third World, ARSC decided to build a new artemisinin manufacturer according to the U.S. GMP standard as soon as possible. Firstly, Artemisinin Research Steering Committee invited Professor Wei from Shandong Institute of Traditional Medicine to take care of all technical designing of the workshop. Born in 1921, Professor Wei was one of the oldest members of 523 Project. At age 50, he even went to mountain area to collect Artemisia annua. Because of successfully separating artemisinin crystal independently in November 1973. Therefore, his institute obtained the new drug artemisinin certificate from China Science and Technology Commission in 1979. Professor Wei was not only genius in science, but also talented in engineering. After investigation in 1986, Artemisinin Research Steering Committee decided to build an artemisinin workshop in Sichuan Youyang. This is a remote Tujiazhu minority region whose residents were poor and lower educated. Moreover, this location was far away from industrial cities. Therefore, it was very difficult to build an artemisinin manufacturing workshop there. because lacking of educated workforce and bigger equipment. The even worse was no funding. The Ministry of Health only approved the contraction plan, but did not provide any money. Moreover, many bankers refused to loan money because they did not believe this program could be succeed. The bigger advantage of choosing this location was that high-quality Artemisia growing there, which could greatly reduce the production cost. Mr. Zhou successfully got 125 yuan Chinese yuan loan from Minority Poverty Alleviation Fund of Sichuan Province as a contraction money. Here 1 yuan equals 10,000. Moreover, the Kunming Pharmaceutical Company prepaid 31 Chinese yuan as the future Artemisinin purchase money, and the local county only could support 11 yuan Chinese yuan. Building a drug manufacturing workshop that could produce at least 1 ton of Artemisinin crystal annually with such few funds seems to be an impossible mission. Without the educated technicians for the operation, Professor Wei recruited several high-talented local high school kids to the training class. He taught them biology, chemistry knowledge from very beginning. Later, he sent them to the Shandong Institute of Chinese Medicine for further professional training. Therefore, before the workshop really began operating, Professor Wei personally trained a good educated workforce with enough knowledge. To help Professor Wei build the future workshop, Mr. Zhou Keding recruited several veterans from the pharmaceutical factory affiliated to the Army Logistics Department. Professor Wei designed a fully automatic closed Artemisinin crystal producing line system which was compliant with the U.S. GMP standards. In 1987, Professor Wei tried small and middle-sized sample production. After success, the contraction of Artemisinin production workshop began in January 1988. In 1990, a new Artemisinin production workshop was completely built in Wulingshan Pharmaceutical Factory. In 1991, the workshop began to fully operating. The annual output was more than 1 ton, which could double the China Artemisinin production output. The picture below shows how happy Professor Wei and his young technicians were when the first Artemisinin crystal was produced. This was a picture of Professor Wei Zhengxin and Artemisinin Research Steering Committee Director Zhou Keding, taken in 1991 at the Yueyang factory site when the Artemisinin production workshop was built successfully. They felt great relief because China could supply more Artemisinin to the world later. In May 1991, at a press conference in Beijing, a speaker of China Ministry of Health proudly announced the following news. China has built the world's first Artemisinin production line with annual output of tons. Then he continued, to supply more Artemisinin to the world is a commitment of Chinese government in the worldwide anti-malaria battle. However, 3 years later, the China Ministry of Health completely breached its commitment and want to close this artemisinin production factory because of Tu Youyou. In June 1994, Tu Youyou filed a lawsuit in Sichuan Qinjiang Intermediate Court. Tu Youyou sued that Professor Wei intruding her property intellectual right because he built the artemisinin workshop without her permission. Tu Youyou said that 1986 new drug certificate from Ministry of Health gave her 100% power for building artemisinin new production line. Tu Youyou not only asked for huge compensation money, but also demanded to shut down this new artemisinin workshop immediately. Although Tu Youyou got the new drug artemisinin certificate illegally in 1986, but she did not know the technology to produce artemisinin at all. Therefore, no pharmaceutical company was willing to buy artemisinin production permission from her for a long time. In 1994, Guangzhou Beirinsan Pharmaceutical Company was interested in the artemisinin production. The company signed a secret contract with Tu Youyou and plotted to sue Professor Wei in order to close Wulingshan Artemisinin factory and force Professor Wei to sell it. Absolutely, this was a dirty and bloody business deal, because Tu Youyou clearly knew if the world's largest artemisinin factory was closed, then millions of people would be died from malaria. Tu Youyou not only sued against Professor Wei, but also against Shandong Institute of Traditional Medicine and Kunming Pharmaceutical Factory. To sue Shandong Institute because they helped Professor Wei to train the high school kids into educated workforce. To sue Kunming Pharmaceutical Factory because they provided 31 Chinese yuan for the construction. However, Professor Wei rebutted Tu Youyou and said that he had the 1979 new drug certificate issued by China Science and Technology Commission, which gave him at least 1/6 intellectual property right to build a new artemisinin workshop. Actually, the lawsuit was a fighting between two certificates from Ministry of Health and from Science and Technology Commission. However, only one certificate could be justified. Therefore, this lawsuit was a power contest between the Science and Technology Commission and the Ministry of Health. Moreover, the 1979 certificate was issued under the leadership of 523 Project Office, but the 1986 certificate completely denied this leadership. So this lawsuit was also a power contest between Army Logistics Department and Ministry of Health. However, they are the same level under State Council. Therefore, who will win this political contest will depend on their common boss, Prime Minister. Tu Youyou's lawsuit ignited anger among the entire 523 Project scientists. They either provided many affidavit documents to support Professor Wei or personally testified in the court who accused that Tu Youyou actually did not obtain artemisinin. 4 other recipients of 1979 certificate donated their shares of intellectual property rights to Professor Wulingshan for constructing the Artemisinin workshop. Even Tu Youyou's one teammate accused Tu Youyou 贪天功为己有 means greedy for whole heaven. 3 months after Tu Youyou filed a lawsuit against Professor Wei, on September 28, 1994, Shandong Institute of Chinese Medicine, Yunnan Institute of Mathematics, Beijing Institute of Biophysics, Shanghai Institute of Organic Chemistry, and Guangzhou Chinese Medical College issued a joint statement and published in their own cities respectively. The following was a copy of the beginning part. The joint statement said, the new antimalarial drug Artemisinin was the result of collaboration of more than 60 units and hundreds of scientific and technological workers. It was crystallization of collective wisdom and labor. The National Invention Certificate issued in 1979 clearly marked that the new antimalarial drug Artemisinin belonged to 6 units. Therefore, no single unit or individuals should be allowed to occupy this remarkable achievement alone. The following are copies of statements from Yunnan Institute and Guangzhou Medical College. In the Guangzhou Medical College statement, Li Guoqiu added more words in the end. Li Guoqiu wrote, regarding the issue of the intellectual property rights of the Artemisinin, only by fully listening to the opinion of 6 invention units and the administrators of the Artemisinin research at that time, and verifying the facts, then we can make the correct judgment. In September 1995, the Sichuan Intermediate Court made the verdict as the following. 1. Wulingshan and Kunming pharmaceutical factories were guilty for intruding the intellectual property right of Beijing Institute of Chinese Medicine. 2. Each of Wulingshan and Kunming pharmaceutical factories has to pay 36,000 Chinese yuan compensation money to Beijing Institute of Chinese Medicine. Professor Wei did not accept the verdict because he could not agree the word guilty at all. Tu Youyou did not accept the verdict either because the court rejected her main demand to shut down the Artemisinin production workshop. Because both Professor Wei and Tu Youyou made appeals in the court, then the case will move to the Sichuan Provincial High Court starting from January 1996. In order to support Professor Wei, on December 8, 1995, the former 523 office leader Zhang Jianfang drafted a document which will be used as testimony in the court. In this document, Mr. Zhang talked about the history of discovery of Artemisinin a lot in the hope to enable the judge to understand the scientific truth. This document was jointly signed by 5 prestigious scientists and 3 senior military officials from the Academy of Military Medical Sciences. This is the copy of whole document. It has 5 pages. The last page we can see the signatures. The title of this testimony document was 还青蒿素发明者应有的权利 which means return the natural born right to the inventor of artemisinin. The main point of the document was the following. The intellectual property right should come from the scientific research, not from the political operations. After a scientist made a contribution to science, then he or she will obtain the naturally born intellectual property right automatically. The certificate was just to confirm the contribution by law. Any certificate, if without the true scientific contribution, will be a political operation, and actually it is a robbery. The most crucial material was written in page 3. On the top, we can read, in September 1973, the Beijing Chinese Medicinal Institute used Tu Youyou's so-called artemisinin to treat 8 cases of falciparum and vivax malaria in Hainan Hospital, 2 of which recovered. 2 cases were effective, 2 cases were ineffective, and 2 cases were discontinued due to premature cardiac contractions. It was obviously the clinical trial was failed. In the middle, Mr. Zhang wrote, absolutely, there will be no new drug invention without a clinical verification. Here, Mr. Zhang's opinion was very clear, because Tu Youyou did not have successful clinical trials. Therefore, her new drug invention certification was illegal, was a political operation, and actually was a robbery. On the bottom, Mr. Zhang wrote, after obtaining the new drug certificate in 1986, Beijing Chinese Medicine Institute had never achieved the industrial production in the last 9 years. Actually, Mr. Jiang told us that Tu Youyou's ether neutralized method cannot produce any artemisinin crystal to the market to save anyone's life from malaria. However, the Sichuan Provincial High Court upheld the original verdict in February 1996, and Tu Youyou still refused to accept and appealed again. Then the case moved to the Supreme Court in Beijing. In order to get the support from high level of Chinese regime, Tu Youyou wrote a letter to Prime Minister Li Peng, because she clearly knew that only Premier Li had power to overthrow the 1979 certificate issued by China Science and Technology Commission. In an interview with a Beijing media, Beijing Wanbao, Tu Youyou lists 4 reasons to file this lawsuit. The second reason was the following. We translate to English. The artemisinin produced by Chinese domestic manufacturers are primary raw materials, which are directly supplied to foreign companies, such as larger pharmaceutical manufacturers in France. They processed artemisinin into injections and sold in Africa. Eventually, foreign companies made a lot of money, but our Chinese factories only make little money, and some even not make money. Tu Youyou said that such abnormal situation must be rectified and changed immediately. Through this interview, Tu Youyou painted herself as a heroine opposing the exploitation to the Chinese people by the Western, particularly by France. Because Tu Youyou disguised as a vanguard against the Western, she was praised as a patriotism by some major domestic media, such as Wangming Ribao and Health News. On the contrary, Wei Zhenxing, who worked so hard to produce artemisinin to support anti-malaria activities in the Third World, was labeled as a pro-Western scholar and accused of not loyal to communism because he had some relatives in Taiwan. Under such an unfair political environment, in 1997, China's Supreme Court made a final ruling to close the Wulingshan Artemisinin production factory, in addition to pay the huge amount of compensation money. Many people believed that Premier Li Peng interfered the case because the Ministry of Health had no power to deny the certificate issued by Science and Technology Commission. Professor Wei did not own the Wulingshan Artemisinin production workshop, but he thought the workshop as his child, which he had spent enormous effort to build it from ground zero. Guangzhou Wulingshan Pharmaceutical Company tried to purchase the workshop with extremely low price, but rejected by Wei. The defeat of the lawsuit gave Professor Wei a huge mental blow. It was hard to imagine how a government certificate issued in 1979 became a garbage paper. He constantly asked why. A year later, his health deteriorated rapidly, and he was quickly passed away at age 78 because of heart attacks. Many people believed that Tu Youyou indirectly killed the innocent and talented scientist Professor Wei Zhenxing. After Wulingshan Artemisinin manufacturing workshop was forced to close in 1997, the Chinese artemisinin production output was suddenly down to 50%. Although Tu Youyou gives the permission to Guangzhou Wulingshan Pharmaceutical Company to produce artemisinin, but Tu Youyou did not have industrial technology to make the production possible. Then the market price of artemisinin rose rapidly. In 1997, the purchase price of artemisinin was only 300 Chinese yuan per kilogram. However, in 2000, the price rose to 6,000 Chinese yuan per kilogram. In other words, the price rising about 20 times in 4 years after the lawsuit. Millions of malaria patients were died because of shortage of anti-malaria drug artemisinin. In 2000, the Chinese new premier Zhu Rongji realized that to close the Wulingshan Artemisinin production workshop was a mistake and gave the permission to reopen. However, the general engineer, Professor Wei, was passed away. All experienced technicians and administrators were gone. It will need another 3 years to recover the artemisinin production from the political disaster caused by Tu Youyou. In 2004, the Wulingshan pharmaceutical factory had produced more than 2 tons artemisinin crystal first time, which was higher than the output in 1997. Now, let's roughly calculate how many innocent people in Third World died because of shortage of drug artemisinin. Normally, Wulingshan drug manufacturer workshop can produce at least 1 ton artemisinin annually. The workshop was completely closed from 1997 to 2000. Considering the workshop cannot be fully operated from 2000 to 2003. Therefore, it is roughly estimated that from 1997 to 2002, the world market lost at least 4 tons of artemisinin. From Legal Charles clinical report, 1 gram artemisinin can cure 1 very dangerous falciparum malaria patient. So, 4 tons artemisinin can save at least 4 million malaria patients in Third World. Therefore, at least 4 million people was killed by malaria because of Tu Youyou's ridiculous lawsuit. The following report can be seen in the website marked below. We translate to English. In July 2004, WHO decided to purchase 100 million doses of artemisinin drugs from Yuan Wulingshan pharmaceutical factory in the purpose to eliminate the world's second killer, malaria. A 100 dose of artemisinin drugs requires approximately 30 tons of artemisinin. Based on the current market price of 10,000 yuan per kilogram of artemisinin, that was a 300 million yuan order, which was the largest order for Wulingshan pharmaceutical factory since its establishment. From this report, we can see how important is Wulingshan Artemisinin manufacture in the worldwide anti-malaria battle. This is the statistics chart of the malaria death toll published by WHO. From chart, we can see the turning point was at year 2004, which was the same time that WHO made a big order of artemisinin. Therefore, it was Professor Wei's Wulingshan Artemisinin factory saved millions of lives from malaria. On the contrary, Tu Youyou was an accomplice of malaria disease because she closed this factory for more than 3 years by her ridiculous lawsuit. Reopening the Wulingshan pharmaceutical factory immediately brought the economic flourish to Yuan. Then Yuan became the capital of world artemisinin because of its largest production output as well as its best quality. The Yuan people wanted to erect a bronze statue of Professor Wei in Taohuayuan Square of the city center to express their enormous gratitude and commemoration to him. On May 23, 2007, on the occasion of the 40th anniversary of the 523 project, more than 100 523 scientists gathered in Yuan to unveil and pay tribute to the bronze statue of Professor Wei. We appeal the Lasker Foundation and Nobel Prize Committee to conduct a complete investigation on whether Tu Youyou used the illegal certificate to force the world's largest artemisinin manufacturer, Wulingshan Pharmaceutical Factory, to be closed in 1997, and causing millions of people died because shortage of artemisinin. If the investigation conclusion is yes, then Tu Youyou's Lasker Award and Nobel Prize should be cancelled, because she was an accomplice of malaria for killing millions of patients in Third World. More Tu Youyou's cheating material will come later. Bye-bye.